Alright guys, what's going on? What's going on? We are back from the Grand Final down at Lake St. Clair. It was actually a double header. I was down there for the Grand Final and the Oz Open on St. Clair and Glenbourne. Glenbourne videos are coming, guys. It was really cool, really tough, crazy weather tournament. But right now, this is the recap for Lake St. Clair. It kind of went to plan and it kind of didn't, right? Like, if you guys have seen the videos, if you haven't, have a look now. I'll drop some little information bars up the top where you can see part 1 and part 2 of the little mini-series that I had for the Grand Final. Pretty much, where do I start? St. Clair was fishing very similar to how it was when we were there a couple months prior. I went out, I decided to pre-fish, or at least start pre-fishing in exactly the same way as I fished when I came 6th there a few months before. I thought, well, that's a good starting point. If I can find the same patterns on throwing those ZX40s really quite up shallow, then I might be onto something. And straight away I sort of started to cotton onto a pattern by sort of about that first morning that I was there pre-fishing. The pattern that I discovered and came up with is that after fishing banks really up shallow, throwing those ZX40s and ripping it back quite aggressively like I do, I found that a lot of the bigger fish were coming when I was entering these little shallow bays. Now, the defining factor of this bay is that it had to have a little runoff sort of feeder creek. I don't really know what you'd call, like a little water cutout, I guess, kind of thing. So if it was to rain, you could see where the water funnels into this little creek channel, and that would run off into the lake. Now, I don't know why the fish was sitting there. I know that if it was raining, I would try and find places like that because the water will bring all the bugs and stir up all the sediment and stir up the food, and the fish are going to go up there and feed. Now, I don't know if some of those bigger fish were kind of making that a little residency at the backs of those bays, just hoping that rain was going to come and wash some food in there. I don't know. That's the only thing I can put up. But I fished numerous bays and numerous banks doing the same thing for either 1 or 0 fish. But as soon as I got into these bays that, you know, I was fishing in less than 4 feet of water, but I was casting it right as far back, like it's ankle deep water, it looks like, that you're casting into, but these big kilo plus fish were there, and I was like, cool, I've got something, I'm onto something. I was really comfortable because, as you know, the ZX blade has performed really well for me this year, and the technique that I've got down pat for these blades is definitely a favourite technique of mine that I've sort of come up with, and I feel quite at home doing it. So for me to be able to come up with the same sort of pattern that was working a few months ago when I had the top 10 finish, I was pretty confident in that. Going out and knowing that, what I did then was to cancel out areas and cancel out different things that I could say, all right, I'm not going to do that in the tournament, because then you're not thinking about it. Fishing's very mental, especially tournament fishing. You know, if you've got the smallest little inkling of an idea in your head that you don't know what way it's going to go, that's going to play on your mind, especially if the fishing gets slow, or you need that 1 or 2 more kick of fish, or you've got a small bag and you need a bigger bag. That little thing in the back of your head that's going to eat away at what you're thinking, you're going to do that. And if you don't pre-fish and don't cancel that idea or keep it as a backup plan, you're not going to know if it's going to be wasted time or not. You want to be really sure. Tournaments are very time-based, so you don't want to waste your time going 20 minutes one way and 20 minutes back the other way for no fish, or for one fish that may not be the fish that you wanted. So it's really, really important to pre-fish properly and just get those annoying little thoughts out of your head so you can be 100%, this is my game plan, I'm not going to do that. Now, I did find a lot of fish up the Fallbrook of St. Clair. Ironically, that is where 40 who came second, only just got a lot of his fish. I made the mistake of cancelling out them as being a lot of small fish. I think there was a lot of small fish up there, but 40 obviously did well and found some of the bigger models throwing jigs. I was actually throwing jigs up there into some trees, and I was going to use that as a backup idea if I needed some of those bigger fish. I didn't want to go up the Fallbrook. The last handful of times at St. Clair, I've been sucked into the Fallbrook, and it hasn't held up for me. And I thought the way that St. Clair was fishing at the moment, being in this drought, there's a lot of smaller fish around, so unconditioned, not unhealthy, there's just not those big fat fish that you're hoping for. There was a lot of smaller fish, you know, 600-700 grammers around. I was going for it was all or nothing. It's grand final, it's $15,000, winner takes all, and I was going for broke. So my plan was either going to catch me good fish or no fish, but I was really confident on the blade. So then I started throwing jigs around some of the trees up the Fallbrook in the middle of where I was sounding up these millions of fish. I got busted off a few times. The fish were really finicky. I was finding that they weren't committing to the jig, or at least for me, they would sort of tentatively try and... A friend of mine, Simon Marchant, who is Jig Pro, Oz Jig, who sponsors me with the jigs, Simon was saying that at the time he kind of felt that the jig bite had only just sort of come on and the fish were not wholeheartedly slamming those jigs. They were more or less trying to pluck the claws off your trailer, so pluck the claws off the red claw and stuff like that, which definitely made sense because the plastic of my jig got pulled down so many times rather than feeling that weight and being able to set that hook. So I kept that as a backup, but I really didn't want to go up the Fallbrook. To get up to where those trees are, it's at least a solid half an hour one way because it's all 8 knots up the back there, and it's a long way to go to kind of waste that time. So basically, I was really set on the game plan of throwing the blades. Day one came around, I had Mark Canaries on my boat. I decided to basically start in the same spot as where I started at day 2 of my last round there, where I had a really good day with Timmy Stenhouse. Started off slow, got some smaller fish first up. We did come across a patch of fish that I did find in pre-fish a couple of weeks prior. There were smaller fish. I think we may have got an upgrade there, but again, I think Mark was throwing a chatterbait of some sort. I did get 1 or 2 on the chatterbait, but I mainly stuck with my blades. At this time, in the morning, I opted not for my pink ZX40. I actually opted for a black one. I can't remember the color code of this one. I might insert it down the bottom here, but it's basically sort of like a rainbow looking one here. Black rainbow sort of thing. It's got a lot of UV in it, and I thought in a lower light conditions this will create a bigger silhouette, and that is just what I found. I was catching some of the better fish on in the morning. As it transitioned later on in the day, as the sun was coming up, I went for something a little bit more natural, a little bit more, not transparent, but just a lighter color in the sun. And that was the pink ZX40, old trusty Pinky. Both days, 1 and 2, were very similar. I felt like I was so disappointed. You know, day 1 was a good day. It could have been better. The fish that I dropped, day 1, I ended up in 4.6 kilos for the end of the day. First place on day 1 was 5.05 kilos, and that was 40. I know for a fact it was just I dropped so many fish on day 1. A lot of them weren't on camera. I got busted off. I made mistakes, and you know, mistakes are mistakes, but these I could have fished better. It's all in hindsight, and hindsight's great when you can go, okay, this is what I did. I made a mistake. I messed up. But fishing with these blades and the way they were picking it up, if the fish ran under your boat, you really just had to loosen off and not go as hard. I think sometimes I maybe went a little too hard. It's grand final, there's a lot of money on the line. I got a little too in front of myself in thinking, and that cost me, I think I dropped about 5 fish, or maybe three to 5 fish on day one. I did get busted off twice, but they were really good fish. You know, I weighed 4.6 kilos. I know for a fact that one of those fish, I had a smaller fish on day one that I couldn't get rid of. So if I caught about 1 kilo, that was probably about a 400 gram upgrade, which would have had me sitting at 5 kilos. And I know for a fact that my fish that were under 1 kilo, the ones that I lost were big. So I'm really confident that if I didn't make those mistakes and I made the most of those missed opportunities and caught those fish, I probably could have been sitting in first place after the first day. But that's not the way it went. 4.6, I was happy. My goal was to be hitting over 4.5 kilos a day. I knew that's what it was going to take to win it. I was really confident on my areas, but I was also really scared that my areas were not going to replenish. So I didn't hit all of my bays on day one, but at the same time, I was keeping an eye on them to make sure that nobody else was going to go in there. As good as you can, you know, you'd be over this side of the lake, you can't see what's happening over there, and that's another thing that plays in the back of your mind. Like, is somebody in that cool little spot that I found, disrupting it, catching fish? You just don't know. So that's where we finished. After day one, I was sitting in 5th at 4.6 kilos, so I was feeling pretty good. 30 the best anglers in Australia, and I was sitting well and truly up the pointy end. So I knew I had to go and do that the next day. I was very worried on day 2 that my spots were not going to replenish, so I decided to start in a different area where I was pre-fishing more in some of the shallower bays and shallower points that I had found that were still holding fish. The water was really clear, so you needed to make those really long casts, but really short, sharp rips off the bottom seemed to be working. Day 2, what I probably should have done is I probably should have called it quits on the blade. I think a lot of people cottoned on that they were sitting up shallow, and I think the spots that I started off on day 2, they'd already been hit pretty hard on the first day. In saying that, again, I dropped some fish. Timmy and I both got busted off and lost some really nice fish that would have helped. So it just seemed to be the whole weekend was just Groundhog Day of losing fish, getting busted off, and it was really starting to get to me because I knew that those fish were very, very costly fish to lose. I probably should have used the backup plan of throwing jigs up the Fallbrook as the morning was getting on, but I decided to stick to my guns, not go up the Fallbrook like I get sucked in every time, and just make this blade work. I was going to all of my spots over and over. I've got a fail-safe spot which always produces fish for me with the blade. I'm not saying where that is because I don't think too many other people fish there, but it is a favourite spot of mine, and it does hold a lot of numbers of fish, but it also holds really good fish. And Timmy ended up getting one there on a chatterbait, and it went just under 1.3 kilos. That definitely sort of pulled us out of the crap. On day 2, Timmy fished really well on day 2. I feel like I just let myself down both days. I've said it, but I'll say it again. I could have fished better. The whole tournament I know that I could have done better. I didn't fish the best that I possibly could have fished, but that's the way it goes. I ended up what did I weigh in on day 2? So day 2, I weighed in 3.83 kilos, so I took a dive. It was a really tough day. We didn't get many chances at those big fish, but the chances that we got, we kind of only secured maybe like 10-20% of them, of the big fish. So that was quite costly. I ended up finishing in 9th spot overall on 8.43 kilos. So I was kind of maybe 1.5 kilos behind first place, Dane Price, who won it. Congratulations, Dane. That was awesome. I think he was showing jigs a lot of the time. But yeah, you know, hindsight is one of those things where it's all well and good to sit back now and say, oh, I could have done this or I should have done that. But at the time, there's a lot of emotions going. There's a lot of mistakes that you probably don't want to make and didn't mean to make. But in the heat of the moment, you kind of just get too caught up with things. And I think that's just what happened to me. I know I could have done better. I mean, it's a top 10. I think that makes it 5 top 10s in a row to finish the year, which is awesome. You know, I was 4 points behind Angler of the Year now. So I came 2nd in the Angler of the Year runnings, which is awesome. But I was so hungry for this 15 grand, and I was so confident, and I didn't make the most of the chances that I got. So that's the way it goes. Finished 9th. I can't complain, but I'm complaining anyway, so you guys are going to have to deal with that and listen to it and learn from my mistakes. And maybe when St. Clair comes around, I can watch this video myself and make sure I don't make those mistakes. But that's basically the rundown. So that finished the year off. We do have Glenbourne Australian Open coming up next video, so make sure you guys watch that because that's really cool. I don't know how much footage I've actually got because the weather was disgusting, so that should be interesting. But that's the recap of the grand final. I hope you guys can take some of this, use it, use the blades, muck around with things. Jigs are great, especially summer. You know, summer months are coming, or here actually, and jigs are on fire at the moment. So get out there, catch some fish, learn from my mistakes. At the end of the day, just have fun. I had fun. It was a great year. Just a massive thank you to all of my sponsors that sponsor me. Fear My Heart, Fish and Bits, Costa, Spider Sports, Jig Pro, Tackle Tactics, Akuma, Kitech. I think that's about it. I hope I haven't left any out. Nah, I reckon that's good. That's good. So, guys, thank you very much for sponsoring me and all of your support and believing in me for doing the stuff that I do, because without sponsors, guys, this fishing tournament scene is definitely a hell of a lot harder / almost undoable. The support that sponsors give us in terms of the gear that we get and are able to use is a massive help. Saves us a lot of money, especially to be able to have the cool things that we have, all the boat wraps, the car wraps, the sounders, all the electronics and the gear that we get to use is because of you guys. So thank you very much. And I'm not forgetting you guys, my viewers. Thank you for watching what I do. I think it's really, really cool. I do have a lot of new subscribers, more and more each day, which is really awesome. So guys, if you have friends, if you have family members that like fishing videos, or I don't know, like beards, I don't know, get them to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get my subs up there. That way I can keep on bringing more videos like this to you, because if I can start getting monetized on YouTube and making money from it, that means I get to work less, I get to fish more, I get to make more videos, and you guys get to see me more. And I'm guessing you guys kind of like to see me, because if you didn't, you probably wouldn't watch this. So I'm going to blow my own trumpet and just say, you guys like watching me, which is cool. But thank you so much, guys, for all of your support, all of the comments. I read them, all the private messages that you guys send me and questions asking about fishing. I do my best to try and get back to you guys as soon as I can. I'm always super busy and I'm shocking at replying, but I do my best. But I really appreciate it, guys. It's so humbling to know that you guys are enjoying what I do. I think that's really, really awesome. The fact that I'm inspiring some younger people to get out and fish and to try new things and to step up into the tournament scene. I know when I stepped up into the tournament scene, it was pretty daunting, and I was pretty nervous. But now I love it. It's a family, and it's what I love to do. And to be able to film it and document it and bring you guys along with me to those tournaments is awesome, and I love it, and I would not change it for the world. So thank you very, very much, guys. That pretty much wraps up the season. As I said, we've got Australian Open, so make sure you watch those videos. They're going to be sweet. But as for now, that's me. I'm out. So as always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, shoot me a like. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, guys, really important, and head over to Keeghan Painter Fishing on Facebook and Instagram. Shoot me a follow over there so I can keep on bringing these videos to you. Right now, I'm hungry. I'm going to get some dinner. I'm out.